Okay, so the GT3 car pack just dropped for ACC, and it includes the new Ferrari 296, a new Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, and the new Porsche 992. I'm excited to get in here and try these out, and I just want to share that experience with you. So without further ado, let's jump into this one and try them out. Before we get started, if you like what I'm doing here at JC Collins Racing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to head over to jccollinsracing.com to find more ways to support my racing career as well as this channel's growth. So first up on the list is, of course, just about everybody's favorite or the much anticipated Ferrari 296 GT3. I mean, as we can see here, this thing looks amazing. It has a good vibe of retro mixed with current technology to me, and I'm a little bittersweet with how the rear of the car looks, but I gotta say, this right here, the front of the vehicle is absolutely amazing. I love how aggressive it looks, all of the aero, and then it kind of, as you could get to the back here, we see that it's kind of smoothed out and it's a little bit more reserved and a little bit retro, but overall, this thing looks amazing. I'm excited to try it out, so let's just get into it and see exactly how this thing performs. So I'm actually going to, let's see here. There we go. I'm actually going to take the Ferrari out on Monza just for a couple of laps just to get a quick warm up and see how it drives. So let's go. Okay, so here we are at Monza. So in terms of setup, I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to stick with the normal aggressive setup. I take that back. I'm going to change just a couple of minor things, like I'm gonna go here and I'm going to change my ABS, drop it down to 1.
The track temp is 40. The air temp is 31 Celsius.
Thanks, Chief. Then I'm also going to just drop my fuel load down to 25 since we're only gonna do a few laps. Other than that, I'm not gonna touch anything else. I'm not gonna touch any of the electronics, the tire pressures, anything with the suspension, dampers, none of that. I just want to get a complete raw feeling of what this feels like and give you all an overall first impression. So, all right, enough of my chatting. Let's actually go out on the track here. Let's drive this thing. Okay, so start it up. Oh, that sounds really nice. So first impressions of the interior, looks pretty good. I like the Motec display here. Got my tire pressures, got my tire temps. Looks like my ABS, traction controls, everything. It's pretty cool. All right, where's fuel load? I see brake balance. I'm not seeing fuel. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, I'm not really seeing fuel. I'm probably just overlooking it, but I'm not seeing the fuel load here. But overall, I like the way that this looks initially. Okay, so let's see. Oh, if I turn on my lights, I get a little indicator there. Perfect. All right. Enough of that stuff. Let's hit the pit limiter and let's just go. Ooh, all right. So in initial, the clutch is a lot easier to work than the 488 GTV or GT3. I hated the clutch on that thing, but this so far felt good letting it out. Coming into the first corner here. Oh, and immediately I gotta say that the brakes are great. And so is the turning. It's very responsive. I think it's a little bit more responsive than the 488 already. I like it. So far, the car doesn't feel as twitchy as the 488. It feels a little bit more reserved. I tell you one thing, the brakes are much stronger.
Tires are cold.
They're much stronger compared to the 488. I have to remember to not try to push yet, that this is the first lap and that we're just warming up the tires and the brakes. Yeah, but so far it's pretty good. I mean, it feels really stable. It doesn't feel as, the range or the line doesn't feel as thin. And what I mean by that is when you're on the limit with the 488, it just feels like at any given moment you could just lose the rear end. The rear end on this thing feels pretty solid so far. Oh, a little bit of understeer there, but I gotta remember that I'm still warming up my tires, so maybe I just need to back off a bit. Okay. But I've got to slam, but I'm really, really digging the brakes on this thing. And the turn-in just feels really good. It's very responsive without being too snappy, at least with the initial aggressive setup. All right, tires are a bit warmer, but they're not quite there for me to do a push lap. But I am gonna push a little bit more. Oh yeah, this thing has, I love the brakes. Oh wow, yeah. Low speed turn-in is great. Almost a little too good. Almost a little too good. All right, I think the tire pressures are at a decent amount right now. They're not perfect, but I think I can push now. I kind of went quiet just for that last lap, just to kind of get into the groove and to actually get the pressures up to a nearly optimal range, just so I can do a good lap here. One thing I did notice while I was in that lap is that the trail braking for this car is actually a lot easier than it is compared to the 488, and that is a huge plus, because there were times when I was, trail braking with the 488 that it's just really easy to unload the rear and lose the rear during trail braking, at least in my experience. But this one, the rear end just hooks up, man. It just feels really good in terms of handling and response and cornering. I'm really digging it. The throttle is easier to manage as well too. It's easy to feel what the rear wheels are doing and what the engine wants to do. So the engine doesn't sound as exciting as the 48 in my opinion, but it does still sound good, and it gives you really good audible cues. When you're downshifting and everything, it sounds great. When you get to the higher revs, you got turbos really spool up. It's actually, I take that back with the turbos. I'm not even too sure if this thing is turbocharged or not. Maybe it's just the transmission I'm hearing. But it just sounds it sounds really good. It sounds really good. Another thing I like is that, and I'm not sure if it's because of the physics update or if it's just baked into how this car handles, is that when the rear wheels spin, you can actually feel a little bit of wheel hop. It's interesting. Like, you feel it through the wheel and you can see it visually in the car as you're spinning the rear wheels. It's got a little bit of a hop action going. It's pretty cool. Don't hate on my lap times, guys. I'm not the best sim racer out there. I'm not one of the aliens that can lay down like a low 140 and on Monza, but hey, I enjoy racing on Monza. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks. All right, I'm gonna push as much as I can on this lap to see what type of lap time I can get, and then we can move on to the next vehicle. I was braking a little too early on that one, but I think I can save it. There we go. Yeah, corner exit for this thing is actually pretty amazing, just out of the box. Like, it's really easy to control the amount of wheel spin that you got coming out of the corners. And then, like I said before, going into trail braking, it's just really easy to modulate between the brake and the throttle. You could definitely feel that this Ferrari is more forgiving than the 48. The 48 was just like, you almost had to be an expert, at least in my opinion, to hop in that car and go. The limit was just, the car was so much more twitchy than this one. And going over curbs just would send you into the wall almost every time. But this one is more stable. It seems like it just grips better. And I feel like this is a car that I can, in time, get pretty fast with. There is a bit of corner exit understeer, but nothing that a few quick tweaks to the setup can't change.
Last lap time was at 152.91. That's your
okay.
fastest lap.
152.9. All right, I'm sure I could probably do better than that with a little bit of practice, but initial impressions not bad. This thing is actually pretty cool. For me, it doesn't feel fast as I'm driving it, but it's one of those cars that you can tell that if you're driving it correctly, that you can lay down some really fast lap times. So overall, my first impressions of this car is that it's very solid. I really like it so far. I'm actually interested in trying out the Ferrari all over again. I think that Kunos did a really good job with designing this thing and capturing all the sounds and the different feels, and the physics just feels really, really good. So this makes me excited to try out the next two cars. So next up, I'm going to try the Lamborghini, and I know it's probably everybody's personal favorite, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are with the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2. As always, Lamborghini never fails to disappoint when it comes to the aesthetics department of the vehicle. I mean, this thing looks absolutely amazing. In a lot of cases, it reminds me of the Super Trofeo, and it seems like it's taking some of that inspiration from that. But overall, I mean, we have the center fin there for the aero. Looks like they put the main intakes on the top of the roof now versus off to the quarter panels. Looks like they made them a little smaller, but overall, once again, Lamborghini never disappoints with the way that the car looks. It looks very aggressive, very aerodynamic, and it's always one of my favorite cars to look at. I mean, look at this thing. It's so beautiful. And of course, it has the V10, so it's probably going to be the best sounding car on the game, which it already was to a lot of people. It's definitely the loudest, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm excited to try this out. So I'm actually just gonna, okay, so just to compare apples to apples, we're doing another couple of laps at Monza. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of first impressions and then probably do another warm-up lap where I'm quiet, and then to get everything balanced out, and then we'll do a push lap and I give you my impressions. But like I did before with the Ferrari, I'm only gonna change two things. I'm gonna change the I'm gonna change my ABS setting. 40. The air temp is I don't like having my ABS that high, and then also I'm just gonna drop the fuel load down. Everything else I'm going to leave completely stock. This is a safe preset. I meant to go, let's go aggressive. We're going aggressive, and then drop the ABS to 1, fuel load to 25. Okay, other than that, all right, let's get it. Okay, so initial thoughts on the interior. Looks the same as the Huracan Evo. No real change to the suede dashboard there. The Motec display is the same. Okay, I cannot change the Motec display in this one, so that's new. Okay, of course I can change the timer. Okay, let's get this thing started. Oh yeah, still glorious V10. Okay, so let's, just a quick disclaimer. The Lamborghinis have always been my favorite cars, especially in Assetto Corsa, but Lamborghinis don't like me back when it comes to this particular sim. So we'll see if there's anything changed in terms of how this thing feels. Oh man, that sounds so amazing. That sounds so good, that V10. Now, in my opinion, the original, this one does too. Oh geez. So, the original Huracan Evo and the Huracan GT3, out of the box, there's a lot of understeer going into the corners and coming out of the corners, and so far it seems like that's still the case with this one. Yeah, quite a bit of understeer. Oh, and the rear end is a little loose too. But once again, this is the outlap. Maybe I just need to be a little more gentle until get all the tires and brakes warmed up. But you know, the car feels really heavy, man. Like you can feel it in the wheel. The wheel is just sluggish. There's a lot of resistance in the wheel, I'll put it that way, and it just makes the car feel really heavy. But that V10 serenading me makes up for it. Oh yeah. Yes, there's quite a bit, with cold tires especially, there's quite a bit of front end understeer, and rear end is pretty, I don't know, this is pretty loose. Okay, I was able to manage that, but I felt a lot of slippage on the front. So, okay, I'm actually going to just do another lap, maybe 2, just to get the tires warmed up, and then we'll come back and I'll do a push lap and we can talk more about the vehicle. Okay, so I got the tire pressures up as much as I could. I couldn't really get the right side up to temperature, but we're gonna work with it. We're gonna roll with it. And I gotta say, once the tires warm up and get to a better pressure or optimal pressure, the car does feel a bit more responsive. And I do understand that, hey, you know, this is Monza. You can run higher tire pressures to get less resistance. But overall, it does feel better than the original Hurican Evo once it's warmed up. It's still a bit challenging to drive, though. It's like...
Sector 1 time is good.
I'm having a hard time trying to figure out the brakes. Like, the brakes want to, like, really lock up a lot. Even with the ABS set down, you know, it's just... It almost makes me feel like I need to increase my ABS, but the ABS set at 1 is very, very active. And it's, I feel like it just kind of throws me off. So actually, I'm going to drop my ABS to 0. There we go, 0. Let's just see how bad or how good this turns out. Oh, yeah. Okay, so if anything, I may need to lower the brake pressure. No, you know what? Let me change the brake balance.
You're locking your right front into...
I know I said I wasn't going to change this, but the brake balance was too much on the front. So I'm dropping it down to, let's call it 54 versus what it was initially. Let's see if that works any better. Okay, that's better. That's doable. That's doable. The car still feels heavy, though. The car is very fast on the straights, of course. I mean... You kind of get that note from as you're driving through on the straights and the sound. Okay, I was able to get the tire pressures up, so let's see if I can get a really good push lap this time. Okay, so with ABS off and my brake balance set further back to the rear wheels, the brakes are a little bit more predictable. Trail braking still is not... It's still tough in this vehicle, though. It's hard for me to judge exactly how to get my trail braking correct, but this is a little bit more workable. Okay. But you do have to be mindful that this car will definitely lock up on the front pretty easily. Yeah, I can hear them skidding and everything. So I can see why people love this car.
See right front locking into Lesmo 1.
Yeah, see right front's locking, thanks. So I can see how people really love this car if you just take the time to like really get to know it. This is the type of car you have to take on a few dates and just really get warmed up and take things a bit slow and then understand what it needs and what it wants. And I think once you get that, then you can really push it. Until then, I mean, take it slow. Now let's see what time we get. It says I'm about half a second faster in the last lap. So 5/10. So literally a split second faster than my last lap.
Your lap time was at 1:52.62.
All right, and then with
3 times quick.
And with the Lamborghini, we ran with the Ferrari, the best time I got was a 1:52.9. So this one, it was about 3/10 faster. Okay, so what are my impressions, my initial impressions on the Lamborghini? I think that it's better. I think it's an improvement compared to the Evo 2. I mean, the Evo 1. But it's still a bit challenging to drive. I mean, I had to kind of really get used to it and really had to concentrate on what I was doing with braking. And of course, I didn't want to have to adjust the brakes, but I felt like that was the only way I could give you all a good understanding of how the car handles, because with the brakes out of the box, it's just a little too hard to manage the trail braking. There was a lot of understeer, and then the ABS is just really on overdrive. Even when it's set down to 1, it was just entirely too strong. So overall, I think, you know, it's nice. It's an improvement. I'm not very impressed with it. I mean, I'm running times that are pretty much in line with the Ferrari there. I'm sure a lot of what we experienced was driver error, and it can probably also be improved with a good setup and with a lot of practice. So overall, once again, good job. Love the modeling, love the sound of this thing, and now that makes me excited to go on to the last one, which is the Porsche 992. And last but not least, we have the Porsche 992 GT3. This thing looks menacing with the black and red and the silver on the top, or the gray. I'm loving it. I'm loving how it's just like, that is beautiful. It's like just nightshade, like, hey, it's coming for, it's like a wraith. Anyway, Porsche did a really good job with the design of this one. I mean, of course, they've kept the same overall design of their vehicles for decades, but apparently it works. So it's like, if it isn't broke, don't fix it, right? But the styling of it, I mean, you can see that they made quite small tweaks to the aero in the front. The car looks a little wider to me. Looks like it sits a little lower. The rear looks like they have some extractors are bigger on the back. The diffuser looks bigger. Overall, loving it. I just love this color scheme. So one thing about the Porsche, since the engine is in the rear versus mid-engine, it tends to suffer from a lot of understeer, at least for me, like corner exit understeer. And you have to keep in mind to let off the throttle a little bit more to get the car to rotate in. But it's a good thing in the sense that the Porsche has a shorter wheelbase, and it can actually get that quicker rotation if you're off the throttle. The one really good thing about the engine being in the back is that once you do get on the throttle, the rear end hooks up so beautifully, since all the weight transfers to the back of the car, and you have the bulk of the weight already over the rear wheels, and then plus the downforce of the rear wing. I mean, you get almost instant grip coming out of a corner. So it's just a matter of adjusting your driver style, or if that is your driver style, you know how to manipulate that. The Porsche can be very formidable. So enough of this. Let's go ahead and hop into, once again, Monza, and we'll take it out for a few laps. Okay, so here we are again, Monza, same deal. We're gonna go with the aggressive setup. We're gonna drop the ABS to 1. God willing, I won't have to change the ABS settings mid-test, but we'll see. All right, and we're gonna drop the fuel load to 25
Celsius.
So now I know that dropping the fuel load to 25 in the Porsche is actually gonna have a much greater impact on the performance than the Lamborghini or the Ferrari, because of the fact that with the gas tank being in the front of the vehicle, the added weight of the fuel helps the front end downforce of the Porsche. But since it's lighter, I'm not gonna have as much downforce in the front, well, much weight in the front. So we'll see if that causes any understeer, any turn-in understeer, but we'll check it out. Okay, so I'm digging the Motec display. All right, let's get this thing started. Okay. Oh wow, nice. That sounds beautiful. Sounds like it has a higher rev limit. Okay, let's see, any other. Okay, yeah, brake quality, race 1, race 2. So it has the same menus as the 991 2. So it has the same Motec menus, but there is definitely updated here. All right, so with that said, let me see, lights. Okay, that's pretty cool. You can see it comes. All right, so you know what? Let's hit the pit limiter. Nice. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Oh, nice, easy clutch. Love it. Clutch is easy.
All clear on pit exit. You can push now. Your brakes are cold. Let's get some heat.
Oh man, this thing. Wow, it screams almost as much as the Lamborghini now. Wow, and it accelerates super quick. Oh, the brakes are amazing. And the turn-in is amazing. That is new. Well, not really, but that was great. Oh man, this thing is really grippy, even with cold tires. Oh wow, the brakes are, ooh. I think I can brake much later into that. Okay, there's that exit understeer I was talking about. It wasn't too tough, but definitely there. Wow. I gotta say though, I feel like I can be on the throttle with this one more than I can the 991. The understeer is not as bad, but the grip is still phenomenal, if not better than the 991. And the sense of speed in this thing is really, really good. Oh yes, it hooks and hooks and hooks. Little exit understeer there, but this thing grabs the road and doesn't let go. And this is with cold tires. Okay, let me chill out because these are cold tires. I almost feel like I can just push already. And the throttle is just immediate. The shifts are lightning. This is great. And then the scream of the engine, of that flat six on top of this is just, it's great. And you can hear the turbos kick in at the high revs. It's just, whew. Oh, okay. Outbraked myself. I got a little too excited. Okay, let's try that again.
You've got the track.
Whoops. Yeah, the rear tires are still cold. The fronts are still a little cold. But man, even though it's cold, it doesn't, the car responds like it's not. The car drives as if it's just, like the tires are just ready to go. And I'm loving it. I feel extremely confident in this car. A little bit of slippage there. I may feel a little overconfident, honestly, but this is great. Oh man, trail braking feels like a dream on this thing. Oh, this is great. I know I've said that 1,000 times, but this is great. All right, on the next lap, I'm gonna go for a push. I'm gonna try to push. The downshifts sound amazing. This thing just really grips, hooks, goes. Love it. I think I may have a new main. Oh wow, look at that, a 152.8 already. And that was on cold tires. All right, let's see if I can push harder than that. There we go. Oh yes, this is so good. Now this is the way the Porsche should feel. Now, you can feel every bump in the road, of course. They hit the sausage curve a little bit there. Had a little bit of oversteer going into that corner, but it was manageable. The thing is, you can feel when the car decides it wants to step out a little bit, but it's so easy to catch. Unlike the 488, for example, once it steps out, it's over. The 296 felt pretty good when it came to trying to catch it if you lose it a little bit, but this is like, man, I think you guys can probably already tell what's my favorite of the three cars already. I mean, it's almost effortless, man. It's like, you can just hop in and go. You don't even have to really worry about it. You just have to be a bit more mindful than I am with your steering inputs. I'm being a bit aggressive. If you are a bit more reserved with your inputs, oh, look at that, a 152.6, and there we go, the fastest lap on the shortest amount of laps at that, of the 3. You know what, I gotta do one more because that last lap I made a few mistakes. So that's crazy. I really feel like I could just keep improving on this thing. Oh, that was a bad exit, but it's okay. I feel like I can make up for it. Let's see what kind of time we can get with this one. There we go. That's better. 3/10 up. Wow, 3/10. That's a pretty big improvement from that corner, and then I lost a 10th just now. 2/10. Yeah, that was bad. So the thing about this car is that it teaches you how to drive, and it also teaches you where you're messing up. It's very easy to see, like, okay, I messed up in that turn, I messed up in turn 6, I messed up in turn 4. And it's very easy to correct it, which is what you need in a sim like Assetto Corsa, where consistency is key. See, now I'm 4/10 up again, and I just want more of this car, man. This is amazing. Like, I want to master this thing. The more I drive it, the more it begs you for more. Wow, low 152. Okay, I'm gonna call it there because I can drive this thing all day. I can drive it all day, seriously. Oh man. So, my initial impressions of the Porsche 992 GT3, of all 3 cars, this one is hands down the best, at least for my driving style. Immediately out of the box, it required no changes. Only thing I've changed, of course, was the ABS, and I just lowered the fuel load, and that was it. The car just naturally wants to grip the road, and if you understand how to drive a Porsche, and I'm no means like the expert in Porsches, I'm sure there are many of you out there who could get on here and just destroy me hands down, but for a rookie like myself, hopping into something like the Porsche, which is typically an intimidating vehicle, it's just, it just felt like butter. It was fast, the sound is amazing, it's engaging, and it's a little bit different than the experience I had with the 991 too. The understeer on corner exit is still there, but it's nowhere near as prevalent. You can actually feel the limit of this Porsche much more than you can the 991, at least in my opinion. And not only feel it, but you can stick with it. It's very, very blatant. That the feedback you receive from the car is very blatant on where it's comfortable. And I like it. I like that quite a bit. It lets you know where you can push, where you could, you might need to be a little bit more reserved. Whereas comparing it to the Lamborghini, I didn't really get that feeling. I just got a very heavy feeling, and it was just sluggish. And it felt like it needed a lot of tweaks. But I feel like working with the Porsche here, if I were to actually put in the time and adjust the settings, that I could probably be very competitive online with this car. So that's just my initial thoughts on the Porsche 992. This thing is amazing, and it's definitely my favorite of the 3. And with that, everyone, I'm gonna call it there. These are my initial impressions of the Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 car pack, and I recommend going and getting it. The cars are definitely a good improvement. You're gonna love them. Hands down, you're not gonna be disappointed. The Ferrari, I loved it. The 293, the 296, it was a good step up in my opinion from the 488. I do feel like the 488 is a bit faster, but you know, I still have some time to I still need time to drive both of them. The Lamborghini was not that impressive to me. I mean, of course, visually and audibly, it's always impressive, but I didn't really feel that much of a difference from the Evo 1. The Porsche 992, on the other hand, was, in my opinion, a huge upgrade from the 991, and I'm very excited to dive in and drive it a lot more. So yeah, I mean, this car pack costs $12.99. It's not too crazy, but I do think it's worth it. You also get a track with this as well, and a whole host of physics updates and things for the game itself. But I believe the physics update is separate from the DLC and is completely free. Overall, highly recommend it. Go for it. And I'm gonna end it there. Thank you all for watching again. I really appreciate all of the support, and I'll catch you all in the next one.